What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you who may be new, stands for Joe
and Amy
Review, and we are here on the Geek for All YouTube channel to talk about the Prodigal Sorcerers. So this is actually going to be the first time in the history of JaAR that we are not talking about the Shadows over Innistrad story. It will not be the last, because we're going into Eldritch Moon, 2, as far as we have planned, and who knows, things happen, we are not planning on just doing JaAR for the Magic stories. We can do it on other topics and stuff too, but we are still here today to talk about the Prodigal Sorcerers. I mentioned a couple of episodes ago that in the past they had done a supplemental story having to do with a supplemental product that they released, which at the time was the commander sets, and so they did a story based on one of the commanders or something. I did not read that story. Amy did not read that story, but it did happen. I'm aware of that, and it was what separated, I believe, Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch from one another. And so that was a way to sell some supplemental product, and I said that there wasn't going to be any supplemental product for them to do a story on, not realizing that Eternal Masters was coming out so soon. And the reason I didn't realize it is because Wizards kind of gave us 2 cards that they spoiled, which was Force of Will and Wasteland, and then just left it sitting there. And now, 2 weeks before the set comes out, because it's a supplemental set, so there's no pre-release, there's just spoiler season, which has been the last 3 or 4 days of just non-stop telling us about new cards, telling us about new cards, telling us about new cards. And I say new cards, I don't really mean new cards. Literally every one of them is a reprint from the supplemental set. But
that's the point.
Exactly. It's like Modern Masters, but for Eternal formats. The set's insane. I don't think all of the cards from it have been spoiled yet, but usually on this channel we always say, at least for mainline sets, that we try to get enough product to allow us to complete the set.
Not this time.
Neither of us are made of money, and so that will not be happening. But if we can, we would love to get a box. So stay tuned to the channel, subscribe. That's not an empty promise. I really am going to try to get a box of this set.
We will.
I will try. I can't make any promises, only because if there's limited availability at local card shops, local game stores,
we'll figure it out.
We'll see. We will definitely be trying our hardest, that we can promise. And if and when we do that, we will open it on the channel. You guys will see all of that, which is why I said subscribe down below, because I've heard a lot of people saying that if they're buying the set, or if they're buying some cards from the set or the box or whatever, that they're going to be keeping it sealed. I'm not that guy. So we will be opening that stuff for all of you, and obviously for myself as well.
Nope, you don't get to keep any of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to keep all of them. But really neither here nor there. We are here to talk about the Prodigal Sorcerers. Now, Prodigal Sorcerer, just as a background for those of you that may not know, and I know Amy did not know this going in, Prodigal Sorcerer is an old school Magic card. I have said previously on this channel, I believe in the Driving to the Draft series, which you guys can check out some of the older stuff that we did, and you can kind of see how we've changed and grown over the year. But Prodigal Sorcerers, I started playing Magic back when Urza's Saga came out, and it kind of went from there for me. So I played a lot in high school with my friends at what would be kitchen table Magic, but it was really the lunch table. So, in school. But that was an amazing time, and we played with Prodigal Sorcerer. And even, I will say, in tournament scenes, Prodigal Sorcerer was known as Tim. And the reason he was known as Tim is because he looked like the guy who guarded the bridge, I believe, in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, whose name was Tim. If it's not the guy who guarded the bridge, it's still from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but he looked like the guy from Monty Python whose name was Tim. And that was why the Prodigal Sorcerer was called Tim. Now, they announced, the day that the story came out, they announced that Prodigal Sorcerer was being reprinted in Eternal Masters with new art. I personally do not think that it is a bad thing that the new art depicts a man of color as the Prodigal Sorcerer, as opposed to the original Prodigal Sorcerer art, which Amy actually specifically, when she saw it in the story, said that he looked ugly. Not the new art, the old art. You said he looked ugly with the weird hat on.
Well, I think it was just the nose, like just the curvature. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it could have been the kind of the profile view, or like his head was slightly turned.
Oh, okay.
Which is what,
well,
2/3 view or something like that.
Look at it, but
we had this discussion back in, I believe, the first episode of JaAR. I think that it's very important to be extremely inclusive. I think that Magic is run by Wizards of the Coast, or it's made by Wizards of the Coast. The events are run by Wizards, and even if you look at the argument solely from the point of the fact that the more inclusive you are, the more money that business makes.
Right.
It is smart from a business perspective to have them be as inclusive as possible. And that's not focusing on the fact that
it just makes sense because it is the modern world.
Correct. And we here on the channel called Geek for All are not unaware of that. It is not the reason that we changed our name to Geek for All, although it is a big part of what we all believe in. Amy is, as a player, and she has discussed this in her Driving to the Draft episodes, but Amy as a player of Magic is not really much of a player of Magic. She does not frequently sit down, and I'm putting words in your mouth, and you can feel free to either correct me and or chime in. But Amy does not sit down at a table and play Magic. She will look at the cards. She will open the cards. You see her fat packs that she opens, whether it be in the Fiancé Fat Pack Battle for Shadows over Innistrad or previous Fat Pack openings that she's done. We did a retro one for her and some other ones for past sets as well. And that's just Amy opening product that she wants to open because she wants to get the cards based on the storylines that she cares about. And that is...
And to see the art, which, for me is the main thing.
Right. It's extremely important. And again, we as Vorthos players, #Vorthos Pride, show off our love for the cards that way. Now, that does not mean that I will not go and play in a pre-release, that I will not go and play in a draft or a sealed event.
Oh, he will.
I will, and I do very often. I attempt to do it weekly if I can, but regardless. Amy, because she does not sit down and play the game, or if one day she decided to sit down and play the game, there should be no reason that she should not be able to do that. Because to be honest, I can almost guarantee, and this is not because of who Amy is, it's just because of how the learning curve for Magic works, I can almost guarantee that if Amy were to do tournament play of any format of Magic, the first, 10 times that you did it or that she did it, it would not be successful for you.
Okay.
It would be a learning experience, and that would be how it goes. And to be honest, that's okay. As long as the people...
that's pretty consistent with just pretty much anything. You don't give it enough of a shot, you're not good enough yet.
And as long as...
Practice and be present and learn.
Yeah, and as long as the people who are there playing against you understand that, you should be fine. I understand that there, to a degree, is a group of players within Magic who are... I don't know that I necessarily want to call out the people who grind to go to Pro Tours and stuff and say that they are this group of people, because I don't think that that's necessarily true. Are some of them grinders? Sure, but I'm sure that some of them are in every group available. I'm sure that there are some Vorthos players who would be like this, but there would be some players who would be very upset.
Less Vorthos Pride?
Hopefully, yeah, oh yeah, definitely. For those people, a lot less Vorthos Pride. But if that truly is the case, that would be, that many less people, but they are the kinds of people who, if Amy sat down at the table across from them, all that they would do to her is critique her play, and not in a positive way.
Yeah, and basically say that I didn't deserve to be there just because I wasn't good yet.
Yeah, and to me, to us, that does not make sense. One, because, yes, I commented on the fact that Wizards is a business, and they would like to make money, which means you want to be as inclusive as possible to make money, and because it makes sense being in the modern world of 2016 that we are in, and it's only going to get better, you know, from here and more inclusive from here. It's a fight to get there, but that's world history, guys. That's gonna happen. But that's really important, and for us as players, that should be what we want. Even people who want to be pros, people who want to just go to their local game stores and play Friday Night Magic and have fun. The game will only get better the more money the business makes. That's almost inherent. Now, there's always the threat of...
And that's the same with any business. It's you know, it has nothing to do with, you know, the specifics of this market. It's just businesses in general can thrive with more revenue behind them.
Well, and it gives them, I should say, it gives them the opportunity to be better. Because if you have somebody bad at the helm, and I'm not saying that this is the case, I'm not saying that it's not, but if you have someone at the helm who is not doing the right thing for the business, then no, it's not necessarily going to be better the more profitable it is. But that's...
I didn't say will, I said can.
But and I think I said will, so that's why I'm trying to make it more accurate. The reason that I'm going into this kind of a discussion, one, because it's kind of a thing that has been happening recently, which is unfortunate, but also because, you know, this was kind of a throwaway story, and I wanted to talk about something. Now, the story was cool, right? I enjoyed it very much. It was not one that I think needed to be told. I don't know that anybody out there was like, somebody should tell me that Prodigal Sorcerers story. You know, like, it's a cool card, and a lot of people call it Tim, and it does cool things, and I've seen it very often, and I've played against it many times, and I knew it every time it came out. You know, I knew what it did. I didn't have to look to see what it did. I just know it. And the fact that it got reprinted in Eternal Masters is really cool. But
I just kind of felt like I was watching Treasure Planet.
It was very piratey.
Which is a good movie.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it.
It was very piratey themed. Like, it was just cool. I have no problems with it from that perspective. But I think that it's just a way for us to review something besides the story and to kind of review where Magic is at currently. It's been a little bit more of a discussion among YouTubers. If you guys have seen what's happened recently, and I think that a discussion is definitely warranted. Personally, and this is just me, and people can call me an old man because I'm definitely getting there in my life, but a lot of discussions these days, people attempt to have them on Twitter. And I think, and again, this is Joe and Amy review, but I think that that does not make sense. Because discussions, first of all, since the days of texting first began, since AOL Instant Messenger chat first began, people have realized that you cannot...
You are making us seem old.
I am old. I'm getting there. I mean, it depends on the age of our viewer, whether they think I'm old or not, but you probably think I'm old. But
I'm going to pretend I'm not as old as you?
Yeah, you're right. You and I never spoke on AOL Instant Messenger ever. But those people from even way back then, the harsh reality is you cannot tell the tone of a person through text alone. You can try. There are italics, there's all caps, there's bold, and that is usually a way to evoke tone of some kind. But if you are just typing, and that is kind of the world that we've gotten into, where you just type. You don't put periods, you don't put spaces, you don't capitalize, or, you know, you don't put punctuation of any kind, you just type. And
you say it in the shortest way possible, regardless of the fact that it sounds harsher that way.
And especially with Twitter, which has a limited character format to it, which they were talking recently about changing the character limits on Twitter from I think 140 to like 10,000 or something like that. It was going to be ridiculous. And I remember specifically hearing that
that's too much.
but a lot of people were really upset by that, because a lot of people on the internet do not like change. And so any change whatsoever is automatically bad, and no one likes it, and they get upset, and then they go to these companies and they tell them, if you do that, I'm going to stop using your service, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to...
And then the next week they're back on it anyway because they realize, well, I can't live without my Twitter.
Yeah, it's the only game in town. But regardless, I think that is a discussion cannot properly be had in 140 characters. It can't necessarily even be had in 280 characters. Or, going all on down the line. We'll see how good I am at math. I'm not going to try to keep going from there. But
that's not.
Yeah, thanks.
That's not what the video's about.
It's not. But regardless, so that's my point, is that this is a big deal. And we all love Magic for very different reasons. But it doesn't mean that we all don't love Magic. I can sit here and I can say, I am not a constructed player. I don't play constructed. But I can also understand the people who enjoy Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander. Those are all formats that are viable. And if you sat me down and asked me to play it, sure. Am I a deck builder? Am I a brewer? No. Am I a net decker who will get my deck offline and pay $200 every 3 months to get the new deck that's the new thing? No. I'm a collector, and I appreciate art.
Did I even understand half the words he just said? No. That doesn't mean I don't love Magic.
If you understood, let Amy know what I said in the comments down below.
I'm alright.
But if you didn't understand, feel free to ask in the comments down below, and either we or your fellow viewers can help you out there. But anyway, I'm not that guy. But I also understand that there are those guys and or gals out there who will do those things.
Hopefully more gals.
Exactly. And you know what? I have sat down at many a Magic table for drafts, for pre-releases, either across from a woman, next to a woman, and they're super nice. Like, is that every woman? Is that generalizing? Yeah, sure it is. And is that every woman? No, it's definitely not. I'm sure there are terrible women out there, just like there are terrible men out there who play Magic. That's just the nature of it, but that's because everyone is different in many different ways. It's not because she's a woman. It's not because she's not a man. It's not because he's a man. And it's not because he's not a woman. It's just the thing, It's not because...
It's just some people are nice and some people are not.
It's true. And there are also just some personalities that are going to clash with yours, where somebody else might look at you and be like, what are you talking about? That guy's awesome. Whereas you're like, he's the worst. What are you talking
most
about?
People will go up to Joe and be like, oh, he's the worst. But I love him.
Thanks for that.
I'm just joking.
Thanks for that.
It's me, everybody.
She's just joking. She doesn't love me. But I think, like I said, I think it warrants a discussion. I think that, unfortunately, we are a pretty small channel. We are still just starting out. The people that we do have that watch our stuff, we thank you. If you've stumbled across this video, thank you as well, because you guys may not necessarily be extremely vocal, but you are watching. We would love feedback. We do love feedback, positive or negative. If it is negative, we ask it to be kept civil, but it has never not been, so we just ask you to keep it up. Well, you guys are going to get to see at the end of the video, but that was kind of interesting. We are in different clothes. It is a different day. You'll, like I said, watch all the way to the end. You'll see what happens. We were really just closing it out. This is a very in-depth discussion, and I don't know if me standing here off the cuff, if Amy standing here off the cuff, if we have touched on everything exactly the way it should have been touched on, if I've even said everything in exactly the way that it needs to be said to evoke what I'm trying to get at. But it's a discussion that's warranted. I feel it's warranted. I think, Amy, you feel that it's warranted. And it needs to be had. Again, we're a small channel. There are just over 100 of you guys. We just got to that point, so thank you guys so much. But there's just over 100 of you. If all of you are watching, that's fantastic. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of us having this discussion. Did we deserve to have it? Did we do it well? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? As I said, it's a discussion. At least in the comment section down below or on Facebook, our Facebook and Twitter pages are down below, but Twitter we use more for fun stuff like memes and things like that, where you can just share fun stuff with your friends, because as I said, I personally don't feel that Twitter is an accurate way to get your point across, but in the comment section on Facebook, you have less of a limitation in terms of what you can type. If you guys have strong feelings about it, we would love to hear it.
Yes.
It is Geek for All. We just talked about inclusion. Man, woman, child, you know, whatever race, whatever gender, whatever sexual orientation, we want to hear you. If you want to identify what of those things you are to give that opinion, you can, but to be honest, it really doesn't matter, because everyone's opinion is valid.
Just as valid
Yes,
as anyone else's.
Exactly. And again, that was part of the discussion that was going on was, well, you're not allowed to talk about this matter because you're a man, so you won't get it. Okay, maybe, but no at the same time. People can give their opinions about whatever they want. And
it's also important to get opinions from people who are not part of whatever group, you know, is the group that you want to be talking to. Because those are that group's allies. You know, as a woman, I can say, I want to hear Joe's opinion. I want to hear other men's opinions on that, because it's important to know what those are, to know, you know, because that's just as important. Their opinions are just as important as ours, because that's the point. I mean, the whole reason why women feel less comfortable playing in Magic is because of the perceived, whether it's real or not, the perceived feeling that they have from men. So it's important to hear from men and find out what it is they really think, what it is they really feel.
Mm-hmm.
And especially it's important for women to hear that if there are men who feel the way that we do, in that it's important for women to get into Magic. It's important to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that we're going to feel that that's true, is to not only believe it ourselves, but to hear men say it as well.
Yeah, and kind of the same thing to all the guys out there. Anytime that I hear something that's going on in Magic similar to this kind of a discussion, whether it's through Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, I always go to Amy. One, to tell her that it's happening, because we do this show, and I know Amy cares about what's going on in the world of Magic, because we have kind of entrenched ourselves in it with this show and this channel. But also because I like to get her opinion. And I love when, you know, I can go to her and I can say, hey, this happened, and she can go, that's stupid. And then I can go, good. I'm glad that you said that, because I felt that way too. And it's a little bit more validation. I don't necessarily need validation for my own opinions, because I believe them enough. But at the same time, it's nice to get a woman's perspective every once in a while, or a different perspective. It doesn't have to be a woman's, a different perspective every once in a while, you know?
And the point of Geek for All is that, you know, every opinion matters, and not only does it matter, but it's important for other people to hear it. It's important for other people to hear other people either agree or disagree with them.
Yes.
Because that's how you have a profound impact on someone else's life, or a profound discussion with someone, or, you know, a spirited debate. None of those things can happen unless other people care about listening to other people's opinions.
And honestly, that's how you alter your perception. Yeah. Because I can have my opinion, Amy can have hers, and then we can come together and state our opinions to each other and counterpoint back and forth if I disagree with something that Amy said, or vice versa. And honestly, if she makes a good point to something that I have said, maybe I tweak how I feel. Does that mean that I automatically adapt her, take in her opinion? Adopt, thank you. Her opinion? No. But does it mean that I might shift mine slightly, leaning more towards hers? Maybe, if I think that it's warranted to do so. And that's also totally fine. You know, you hear in the political world all the time, oh, he's a flip-flopper. Well, yes and no. First of all, this isn't politics. But second of all, I think it's a perfectly valid argument to say, actually, no, you know, I believed this way, but someone brought up a very good point, and now I think differently. And you can give your reasons for that. You know, I think differently because of
or you
these
think
things.
Sort of a different shade of the same color, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's the same sort of idea. It's just your way of going about it would be different, or something like that.
Yeah. So, as I said, this definitely warrants a larger discussion. Let us know in the comments down below if you liked this, if you disliked it, because to be honest, this is not really what JAR has been up to this point. And
so this maybe just kind of gave you whiplash, and you were just like, "Hey, I hate this."
Right.
Dislike, you know.
And let us know. I mean, the dislike button is there, and we never tell people not to click it if they feel that the video deserves a dislike. Let us know why, because if enough people dislike it, clearly you want change. You dislike the video and you want it to be different, and we want to tailor that for as many people as possible.
Obviously, we just said inclusion and opinions are important, so we want to hear what you think.
True. True, very true. And that's for, against, whether you want to continue this discussion, whether you never want to hear us talk about this discussion again. All of that, all of those are things that we want to hear. Again, we have not had a very vocal group in our comments in the past. I think one video, the most that we have is like 8 or 10. But we're a small channel, we're starting out, as I said. So, you know, do you want to hear more of a discussion from us? Do you want to hear more of a discussion from us with other YouTubers? Yeah. Let those YouTubers know about this video. We've always asked you to share our videos, and I don't want it to seem like we are attempting to use this to get our name out there, because that's not what we're doing, but it is a discussion that we believe is warranted. It is for all, and we do want other people's opinions, and with a limited viewership, that doesn't help us to have that discussion that we think needs to be had. If you agree with us, share this video around, share it with your friends, your family. Like I said, if you want to share it with other YouTubers, that's a very good thing that Twitter can be used for. Tweet at that person and say, hey, you should check out this video, there's a good discussion in it, something like that. And that's if you felt that way. If you felt, hey, look at these idiots and what they think, you could tweet that at people too. You have every right, that's your voice, and you have a freedom of speech, and please feel free to utilize it. Like we said, let us know what you think. We've harped on that. We always want that. I think it's more so important in this video specifically, but we should be back. Next week will still be a different story. We're not back to Shadows over Innistrad / Eldritch Moon yet. So next week will be a little bit different. If there is enough, I don't want to say outcry, but if there's enough support for this video, then maybe we will have another discussion like this.
Maybe we'll talk about the same sort of stuff again next week.
Right. And then we can promise that we will be back for the Eldritch Moon / Shadows story continuation in 2 weeks. I think it's June 8th is when the story comes out. I could be wrong. I didn't check that. But when it comes out, we will be back for that version of JAR. Give us your opinions. It's for all. We want to hear from all of you. If you have an opinion, for, against, comment section down below, Facebook. Again, Twitter's for more fun stuff, but if you really want to leave it on Twitter, you can. And subscribe, because you'll be able to find out when more of these come out. Tell your friends, like we said, tell them to subscribe.
Or if you really hated this video and you really like our other JAR videos, you should subscribe anyway, because then
we'll be done with this soon.
You'll know when those are coming back, and you can enjoy them when they get here. Yeah, and we'll be right back to showing off, as always, our hashtag Vorthos Pride. Get my fist in the frame. Yeah, just put your arm out of frame. So thank you guys so much for watching, as you always do. Thank you in advance for any comments that you leave, any feedback that you give, any sharing that you do, because we really appreciate it. It helps us to grow, and it helps this discussion to be had, because we do feel that it is important. We hope you guys do as well. And guys, as we always say, first of all, I have been Joe. And I'm Mimi. And we are here from Geek for All. And as we always say, in whichever video you guys watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody. Okay, let's come back in. That's going in bloopers. Okay.
okay. It's just happening now.
Just filming darkness.
Yay! Okay, pretty sure we're done.
The power is out.
Yay! How much fun is this video to watch? Okay, I'm gonna...
Hold on, guys. When will we come back? When will we come back? The world may never know.